Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Fighting the Fray. Welcome. Before we get started, I just want to thank all of you for sending in your comments and questions to hello@fightingthefray.com. We always appreciate hearing from you guys, so please keep it coming. We are continuing in the series of things I wish I knew before I said I do, and we're really enjoying this series because it allows us to talk to you and hear from you in regards to things that we all wish we knew before we said I do. So we're going to continue in talking about money and marriage.
Absolutely. And one of the things about money is that it can be so tense sometimes. I mean, you think about when you go to like a job interview or something like that, and everything could be going great, and then you start talking salary and it's like everything is uncomfortable and it's just not as exciting a conversation for you to have. I mean, statistics even show that like in marriage, it's like what, the number one? Yeah, it's the number one reason for conflict in a lot of marriages. So we're gonna talk about it. I mean, we're talking about dollar bills, y'all.
Oh my gosh. John really loves saying that. So as John stated, marriage is the number one cause of conflict. And part of the reason in marriage, and part of the reason for that is because we don't want someone to tell us about how to allocate or how to handle money that we have worked hard for, that we have earned. Even from when we were little kids, we've been told to get great grades so that we could go to a great school and land a great job, and then just to have a good steady flow of income. So oftentimes we see that when people get married, they're like, wait a minute, you want to tell me how to handle my money? And it gets even worse if one is in a situation where they make more money than their spouse, and they're like, wait 2 minutes. You want to tell me how to handle my money and you're not even bringing enough to the table? So that's kind of the mindset that we've seen causes that conflict.
And the thing about it is that, you know, when we get married, the thing that is missing in that mentality is that it's just forgetting the fact that we're supposed to be one.
Yeah.
It's all about unity. I mean, it's my family marrying your family and us becoming our family. So when it comes to our money, it's the same thing. That means your money plus my money equals our money. And guess what? I know you don't want to be in each other's pockets, but when you get married, it's our pockets. So that means your savings plus my savings equals our savings.
Yep.
Your debt plus my debt, my debt equals our debt.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the things where once we embrace that mentality and once we embrace the aspect of us having a unified front regarding our finances and our money, then we can really begin to develop a financial plan that's actually going to be healthy and be sustainable for our family.
Agreed. And like you said, once we adopt that mentality and embrace that mentality, then we can talk about ways to allocate our money. And there are 3 buckets that money is usually allocated to, which is spending, a spending bucket, a savings bucket, and a giving bucket. Spending and saving is kind of self-explanatory, and some of us are gifted and talented in the spending category. But as it pertains to giving, personally for John and I, we follow the biblical principle of tithing to our local church, and then in addition to that, we also give to different charities that kind of touch our heart or kind of speak to us, and that allows us to live more selflessly and keep us aware of our surroundings and just thinking about how we can help other people besides ourselves. Right. So once we've determined those 3 buckets, then we start talking about negotiation. In regards to spending, I may say, hey John, I think we should put 60% of our income to spending. And John may say, actually, I was thinking more like 40% or whatever. Then we start going back and forth and talking about how we want to compromise. And there definitely has to be compromise in that because we both have 2 different ideals coming into the aspect of money.
And some people are actually scared about the negotiation aspect, but I say you better become good at negotiating because you're going to be negotiating about sex. You're going to be negotiating about your son playing football.
Wow.
Because,
John, you just gonna have to bring your list of things.
I'm just saying, you're going to be negotiating.
Football is too much of a contact sport, so we're talking about
we're negotiating.
Basketball.
We're still negotiating. It's okay. We are negotiating. But the reality is that we got to become good at negotiating, not be scared to negotiate,
Right.
not be scared to actually have that conversation.
Agreed. And once we have had that conversation, one thing that John and I found was helpful for us is to reach out to a couple that's kind of ahead of us,
Right.
Maybe married for a couple more years than us when we got married, and ask them, hey, what does your spending budget look like? Because then you can take that and can kind of compare it to your budget to see how realistic your allocations are. And then after that, you develop your budget, which is essentially what you said verbally on paper, something to hold you to accountable.
And I think when you actually develop that, it brings on the aspect of, okay, how we're gonna use, how are we gonna determine, is this a big expense? Is this a small purchase? Are we gonna use credit to do this? How are we gonna handle financing these different things that we put into our budget? How are we disseminating it? And I mean, for me, with credit cards, that was a really big conversation for Paige and I, because the reality was I had very negative preconceptions regarding credit cards. I mean, it was through conversation with Paige that we started to understand that, man, we could pay off our credit cards each month and still be able to benefit from the mileage. I mean, benefit from the actual mileage that you can get towards getting travel miles.
Exactly.
She'd be loving the travel. So that was like, that was a good conversation that led to us having a really good understanding on how we could actually disperse our funds and use it in a way that could benefit our budget.
Agreed. I mean, the common theme of this whole series, as well as this episode, is communication, being on the same page. There's no conversation that's too silly or whatever the case may be. Like, let's talk about everything. Let's be on the same page. Oftentimes when it comes to money, people say, oh, I don't want to have that conversation because I know it's going to lead to an argument. I don't want to have an argument right now. But the truth of the matter is, if you do not discuss it, you will definitely have an argument. So it's better to proactively, when the situation is not tense, have that discussion, talk about your preferences and things of that nature so that you can be prepared, and it can allow you to take a better step in the direction of a good financial plan, like for you and your family.
And the thing about it is, if you cannot, what we really advise is, if you cannot get past this money aspect before you get married, don't do it. Because the reality, don't do it yet, because you're not ready yet to be able to go all in regards to that. And so with a unified mindset in regards to how you're going to handle your money, that's really what we wanted to be able to communicate, to have that unified mindset and communicate. So if you know that this benefited you, or if you know anybody else that would benefit from this conversation on dollar bills, y'all, please share it with them. And until we see you all again, let's keep fighting the fray.